you're a radical, the First Amendment doesn't really apply. Consider this. Shortly after Yeshitala's arraignment in irons, a U.S. Senator, former Foreign Affairs Chairman Bob Melendez, was charged with not only being an unregistered foreign agent, but of allegedly receiving thousands of dollars, a sports car, and even gold bars from several foreign governments. And guess what he wore to court? I mean, besides an expensive suit. So much for equal justice under law. And while both Yeshitala and Melendez are roughly the same age, one is a black radical and a freedom fighter. The other is a wealthy, politically connected politician. Guess who got the chains? But the First Amendment, the freedom to write or say what one wishes, to which we say free the Uhuru 3. Dismiss all the charges with love, not fear. This is Mumia Abu Jamal.
Free Mumia Abu Jamal. Free Ed Poindexter. And free Leonard Peltier. Free them all. Free them all. Uhuru. We have a really exciting lineup today, and we know that people have come here from all over. We have people that have come from, and I might have some of you even shouted out, but I want to just tell us first, before we say about where people have come from, let's also remind us that we are marching on the Black People's March on today with our comrades in London, in Africa, and when in Africa, we're talking about South Africa, or as we say, occupied Tanzania, in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Los Angeles, here in DC as well. And we have people who have come here from all over across the United States to come here on today. So, okay, Uhuru. So right now, comrades, we're going to invite up our next, we're going to do a little culture and just keep the vibe going. So I'm going to pass the phone over to my comrade, Rage, who's going to welcome up our next speaker, or our culture. Uhuru.
Really quick though, I just want to salute my leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the leader of the African nation, the leader of this liberation struggle. I'm so honored and proud to be here with you, marching with you at the 15th annual Black People's March in the White House. Uhuru. All right, y'all, I want to call up our culture for today, Ms. Lucy Murphy from the Black Workers Center Chorus. Uhuru.
Everybody wants the same thing, don't they? Everybody wants a happy end. They want to see the game on Saturday. They want to be somebody's friend. Everybody want to work for a living. Everybody wants their children warm. Everybody wants to be forgiven. They want a shelter from the storm. Look at me, I hate the enemy. We walk on common ground. We don't need to fight others. What we need. Solidarity. Oh, solidarity. Solidarity. Oh, yeah. Solidarity.
The music you just heard is from our African brothers and maybe some sisters from Jamaica. We are from Washington, D.C., and
Occupied territory of the Muiscas, Caribbean, and Arawak people, South America, Colombia.
and
Siempre.
to start with a song that a friend of ours rewrote. The tune is Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho, which I think everybody in this audience knows. But we say NATO's got to go. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go so the people can live in peace. Let's see if they got it. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go so the people can live in peace. Actually, there's some people here who are used to watching television, and they don't understand that participation is an African tradition. So maybe we have to do a little call and response. We say NATO's got to go. Repeat.
Got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go.
So the people can live in peace. One more time.
We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go
So the people can live in peace. From Kosovo to Afghanistan to Libya and Ukraine, the bureaucrats of NATO bring endless war and pain. They say they want a victory, so they're sending in more arms. But nuclear Armageddon doesn't seem to raise alarm. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go so the people can live in peace. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go so the people can live in peace. Raytheon and Lockheed make the weapons used to kill. NATO members buy them and the people pay the bill. We can't afford good housing. We can't afford health care. We can't afford clean water, 'cause NATO let us bear. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go so the people can live in peace. Washington made NATO to enforce its global rule. Now it's bombing pipelines where allies once got fuel. NATO's domination brings hunger, war, and fear. But there's cracks in the foundation, and NATO's end is near. Remember what happened at Jericho? The trumpets began to sound. Joshua commanded the people to shout, and the walls came tumbling down. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go so the people can live in peace. One more time. We say NATO's got to go, got to go, got to go. We say NATO's got to go so the people can live in peace. This next one is call and response to Palestine. Palestine needs her freedom. Needs her freedom. Palestine. Palestine needs our love. Needs our love. Palestine. Palestine needs her freedom. Needs her freedom. Palestine. Palestine needs our love. Needs our love. We're going to try that again. Melissa and I are going to do the first one, and you all are going to do the second one. So, Palestine. Palestine needs her freedom. Needs her freedom. Palestine. Palestine needs our love. Palestine needs her freedom. Palestine needs our love. Mukasa. This song was written by our friend Matt Jones of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So I want you to help us sing it.
Go help them, Mukasa. Go and help them, Mukasa. Help them.
If you think of the Middle East in this modern time, you can't help but say the word Palestine. People there have lost their land, some have lost their home. They live in other countries, their freedom almost gone. Palestine needs her freedom. Palestine needs our love. Palestine needs her freedom. Palestine needs our love.
There seems to be no answer that gives us the reason why people cannot live, so no one has to die. Let's take a stand for freedom. Let's take a stand for truth. Let's take a stand for justice. That's all we have to do. Palestine
Needs her freedom. Palestine needs our love. Palestine needs her freedom. Palestine needs our love. People of all countries, of every race and creed, we need a new beginning. Let us plant the seed. Plant the seed of love and let that love seed grow. Plant the seed for everyone so all the world will know that Palestine needs her freedom. Palestine needs our love, needs our love. Palestine needs her freedom,
Palestine
Palestine needs our love.
Uhuru! Let's give it up one more time for Sister Lucy and the Black Choirs Chorus. Victory to Palestine! Victory to Palestine! Uhuru! All right, comrades. So, we are here today, and I'm very excited about our next speaker, and I know most of you already know this individual, but I'm going to take my time to explain who we are bringing up next because this is a true leader in our lifetime. It is my honor to introduce Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who is the leader of the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement. Omali Yeshitela has fought for the liberation of Africa and African people here and around the world for more than 60 years. Having been a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in the 1960s and forming the African People's Socialist Party in 1972. He built a mass movement for reparations. The reason we hear reparations still as a household word today was because in 1982 he said that we will make reparations a household word, and here we are today. Holding the World Tribunal on reparations to African people in 1982 and led the world in making, as we said, reparations a household word. He has taken the movement beyond protest, creating over 50 institutions as the infrastructure of the liberated African workers' economy, building Black Power and building the Black Power blueprint in North St. St. Louis. The chairman is the author of many books, including his most recent book, Vanguard, the attachment of the African Revolution, as well as The Verdict is In, Reparations Now. And he has spoken all over the world. In 2019, Chairman Amalia Shatella won the debate at the Oxford Union building a closer African Union. I want everybody to please join me in welcoming Chairman Amalia Shatella. Uhuru!
Uhuru! Uhuru! Uhuru, Africa! Uhuru! Uhuru, comrades, brothers and sisters! Uhuru! First of all, I'd like to express my appreciation to everybody who has come out. Some of you I've known for a very long time. And I see Comrade Linda Leaks, who we worked together in the 1960s when the two of us were the only ones who were producing the Burning Spear newspaper on a regular basis. And the U.S. government thought that we must have been underground because we couldn't have done as much work as we were doing, just the two of us, in St. Petersburg, Florida, where the United States government attacked our movement on July 29th of last year. I really appreciate the fact that there has been an acknowledgement here, was sent into St. Petersburg, Florida by Ethel Minor. And Ethel Minor, who is the sister from the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, who was there on 360 Nelson with them in Atlanta, Georgia. She had come to SNCC from the Organization of African American Unity that was created by Malcolm X. She is the person who was responsible for bringing the struggle of unity with Palestine into the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. She's the one who organized teach-ins and things like that to educate the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and Africans around the question of the relationship of Palestine and African people in the United States and other places. So Mukasa was sent into St. Petersburg, Florida after I was arrested in 1966. And he got there in early 1967. Ethel said to Mukasa, you got to get down there because those comrades need help. And so he drove into St. Petersburg, Florida, burned up the car that he was driving in, had to replace the engine because he drove it hard on the way to St. Petersburg, Florida, like we're driving hard today. And so Mukasa is a venerable veteran of the Black Power movement. And I think that's significant for a number of reasons, and I'll say something else about that. But in addition to Comrade Mukasa and Comrade Linda Leaks, I see comrades here from, it was mentioned that we have forces who are doing this mobilization in Los Angeles, California. And one of the enduring relationships that the African People's Socialist Party and through us, the African Liberation Movement has had for the last 40 years or so is the one with Unión de Barrio, Mexican National Liberation Movement, headquartered primarily in Southern California at this time. And they have been with us all the time, and we have been with them. So it's very good to see the compos from Unión de Barrio who are with us here. They're also with us in LA today, where we're doing the mobilization. I want you to understand that we are doing this mobilization in LA. It's not just something that we're doing here. Some people have made the mistake in assuming that what we are doing here today on November 4th is in contention with something else that's happening here on November 4th. But we are not involved in attempting to see who can have the bigger peace march or the bigger anti-war march. The fact is that Palestinians and African people are not engaged in simple marches and demonstrations for peace and against war. We are in a life and death struggle, because after today, on tomorrow, Palestinians will still be struggling, just as they were struggling in 1964 when Malcolm X was there, just as they were struggling in 1967 when all of the white money, white leftists, white liberals, everything in the struggle against colonialism, and there are people who would liquidate that, who would obscure that, who would have us marching and protesting to make white people like us. They said we're supposed to be fighting against racism, but how the hell do you know when you won the war against racism? I'm old enough to remember when there was an entire industry that was surrounding this question of unlearning your racism. You white people could pay a lot of money. If I was smart, I would have got in on the racket myself. White people could earn a lot of money by white people going to unlearn their racism. But guess what? After they got their diplomas, African people were still oppressed. White people were still on top of everything. The fact is that the question is against colonialism. It was against colonialism in Palestine. It's against colonialism here. It's against colonialism in Cuba. It's against colonialism in Venezuela. It's against colonialism all around the world, and we are going to be victorious. So we're not engaged in some kind of struggle to see who can have the biggest peace march. Our objective, we founded the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparation because of the opportunism in the so-called white anti-imperialist, anti-war movement, because they never would come out in solidarity with Palestine. They never would come out in solidarity with people in the Filipinos. They never would come out in solidarity with the fact that there are people children who are putting in cages at the border right here, to what is happening to our people in Haiti. They weren't there. We had to create our own organization. They would walk across the war that's being made against African people in this country on a daily basis. They would liquidate that to go fight a war someplace that they're never going to take their little white asses to. They're not going to Palestine, but they are here. And there's a struggle that we've been trying to invite them to unite with for 15 years. That's the struggle with black people for power over our own lives. But they're opposed to black people having power over our own lives. So now, for the first time in 15 years, that we've been trying to get them to unite with the struggle. And I'm not talking about all white people. You know, you have to say that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? I'm just talking about the opportunist. I'm not talking about the reparations contingent that's going to be marching with us. I'm talking about the opportunist. For 15 years, we've asked ANSA to unite with us for as long as it's been in existence. For 15 years, we've asked the Party for Socialism and Liberation to join with us. They never said why, but they didn't do it. For the first time, we've got an explanation. They give us an explanation. We're not joining with you to free black people because Palestinians are in trouble and they need our help. So at least they come up with an explanation today. They never explained it before. But despite this, we don't have a beef with Palestinians. We are going to be in this struggle together. Palestinians and Africans are going to be in this struggle against colonialism after today. We're going to have to fight this war after the day, just like we were fighting it before. We were fighting it for 15 years. There's never been a time when the Palestinian question has not been a part of the issue for the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice and Peace and Reparation. There's never been a time when we've been fighting against colonialism where Palestine was not on the top of our agenda. It's always been there. That's why we say free Palestine. Long live Palestine. But we say more than that. It's like Comrade Che Guevara said, in terms of solidarity, it's more than just a matter of well-wishing. Didn't he say that? He said it's what? It's what? It's sharing the same fate, whether in victory or in death. That's what the Palestinian and African people are locked into that kind of contest. Brian Becker, leader of PSL, is not involved in that contest. After this thing is over, Becker will retire to his comfortable wherever it is he lives, with tree-lined streets and what have you. But Palestinians won't have a community in the Gaza. We say, Gaza, Gaza, hold the line. Victory to Palestine. We say it's not enough to a matter of well-wishing. It's sharing the same faith. And victory or death in Africans and Palestinians do share the same faith. So I wanted to say that. I want to also say that this this is no accident. What the PSL and this other entity answer, which is questionable. There's no accident that happened here. We happen to know about Palestinians who had come together trying to deal with this murderous assault that's being made on Gaza. Come together to try to get together and have a demonstration, mobilization, some kind of action. It was answer in the House who were there and said that we can't do it right away because they wanted to do it right away because Palestinians are being killed then. They said we have to wait until November 4th. This is the organization we had asked to join us on November 4th here. So they used the Palestinian question as a means of attacking the black liberation. They know that I'm facing 15 years in prison. Becca is not. They know that Penny Hess and Jesse Neville are facing 15 years in prison. They know that this attack on the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement was the attack. It's like the canary in the coal mine. Because once they attacked us, you saw these attacks start happening all around this country to people. That's why there's such a thing as the Tampa Five. 5 students, the University of South Florida in Tampa, who were simply protesting because the reactionary governor of Florida had taken away the right for people to teach black history. They protested. They have been indicted by the United States government. That's why 61 people have been indicted and got involved in this struggle to stop Cop City in Atlanta. They did that because they want to stop this movement. They opened the door on the rights of all the people when they attack African people, and that's the way it's been historically. But they cannot win. I want to say, in addition to what we're doing here, you heard that we are also engaged in mobilization in Los Angeles, California. All kind of people going to be there because we've characterized this as a movement, an anti-colonial movement for freedom of speech. Not just African people, but all the people. Freedom of speech. And so in Los Angeles, California, Filipinos, Africans, Mexicans, you name it, will be involved in the mobilization on today, right now. We had a demonstration this morning at the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria, South Africa. Should have seen it. You will get a chance to see it. Magnificent demonstration where Africans are standing in front of the U.S. Embassy talking about free Palestine, free Leonard Peltier in Pretoria. Drop the charges now. Free the Uhuru movement. That's in Pretoria in South Africa. We've also heard reports in London at the U.S. Embassy. The demonstration we had there, you know, in London they like to brag about the Barbies don't carry no guns. The police don't carry no guns. I was a relatively small demonstration, but comrades from West Papua were there, and there were comrades from other kinds of organizations were there, and the police came heavily armed with machine guns and what have you in London, England, that they like to brag about. The cops don't carry weapons. They don't carry weapons, generally speaking, but the colonial question has come home to England, just like it's always been here in the United States. The reason they used to be able to brag that the police did not carry guns in England because the United States is a settler colony, born as a settler colony, just like Israel is a settler colony, a white nationalist settler colony that rests upon the foundation of genocide and oppression against the indigenous people here who live in concentration camps that they refer to as Indian reservations. We know that. We talk about how they're trying to move the people out of Palestine so that they can take the land from them and expand what they call Israel now, which is a white people's country. They know that we know what that is. That's armed gentrification. We've seen them do the same thing in Washington, D.C. that used to be referred to as Chocolate City. We've seen that in Harlem. We've seen that in North St. Louis. Every place we look, that's what they do. They remove us because they can. A settler colony cannot tolerate the people whose land they stole being there because we are evidence of the crime that's being committed against us to create themselves. So I just want to say, we're going to go hard to the White House today. We're going hard because we're going to sneak You got to be able to get down with black power because they say that they support the struggle of Palestinians. They're quite quick to say, send relief to Palestine. Well, real relief to Palestine will come when we open up a new front against colonialism right here, because Palestine could not last another 30 days without what they get from the United States. That's why they have battleships right now in the Mediterranean. That's why they got U.S. troops on the ground right now in Palestine. If you remove the United States out of the equation, those white people in the state of Israel will have to go back to Poland, will have to go back to Milwaukee, will have to go back to those other places. In London, England, I told you how they came with guns and what have you. But I also want to tell you that they had planned to have a demonstration at the Israeli embassy. But the British government prohibits demonstrations at the Israeli government. They say that's anti-Semitic. They have banned the slogan, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. You can't say that without going to jail in England. These are the countries that's supposed to hold up free speech. They call themselves the ones who brought free speech to the rest of the world. But they would bomb my house at 5 o'clock in the morning last year because of what I said, not because of what I did. But they don't have enough flashbang grenades or anything to stop this movement. The struggle against colonialism will prevail. There's no freedom for anybody on the planet Earth without this. And if you look around the world, and where you've seen socialist revolution, it's always been in the colonial countries everywhere. That's where the front has always been. Ho Chi Minh, who once said, he asked the Communist Party, he was a founding member of the French Communist Party. He asked him, what kind of revolution are you talking about if you're not talking about colonialism? He said that if you want to fight against imperialism, when you look in Europe, you're just fighting the tail. If you want to get the head of imperialism, it's in the colony. And that colony is in Palestine. That colony is in Washington, D.C. That colony is in St. Louis. That colony is in Venezuela. That colony is in Namibia. That colony is all around the world where we've been trying for the last 500 years to break out of this statement, this status of slavery that's been imposed on us. Victory! Free Leonard Peltier! Free all the political prisoners! Free them all! Victory to Palestine! Gaza, hold the line! Victory to Palestine! Uhuru, Comrade Diop has been there with us for a very long time. So we just want to appreciate everybody who's here and say, adelante siempre, forward ever, backwards never. And the fact of the matter is, they're in a state of desperation because we are winning. We will never retreat. We are not going back. We are not going back to them old-timey days that they used to be able to feel comfortable because all the slaves were calm on the plantation. There is no calm now. And let me tell you, it's not enough to say peace, because Biden wants peace. Netanyahu wants peace. All of them want peace. All they want is the oppressed people to stop fighting. That's the kind of peace they want. They want peace on the plantation. They want imperialist peace. But the people are determined to be free. And we are riding on that train of freedom right now. Adelante siempre. Uhuru. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
during the massacre of Gaza, the Israelis have assassinated the political prisoners of Palestine. 2, 3, 4 of them have been found dead in their cells, and they say, oh, it's natural causes. We must always remember that our political prisoners will become the ancestors that our children will need to know. So we can never, ever forget our prisoners. And I am hoping that we never have 3 more. And that is Penny and Jesse and the chairman. We do not need them as political prisoners. We need them out here organizing. So thank you all for being here. And I would like to remind everybody that yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, in 1979, Sekou Odinga of the Black Liberation Movement, a warrior, and his white allies liberated Assata Shakur. And since then, Assata has been in exile in Cuba. If we can get Assad out, we can get Leonard Peltier out. We got Matulu out. We've gotten Jalil Montague out. But Leonard is long in there, 49 years at 79 years of age. So please check out freeleonardpeltiernow.org, our website for the Leonard Peltier Official Ad Hoc Committee. And thank you, and it's an honor to be here. And I would tell the chairman that white people's responsibility is to go in the front. After being part of the colonial empire, it is our duty to make sure that the Black Liberation Movement comes out a victor. And if that means we have to accept responsibility, then that's our role. So to be a revolutionary is to understand that and follow the leadership of the Black Liberation Movement. Free all political prisoners and free Leonard Peltier. Free them all. Uhuru! 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 Thank you. Now Mumia could hear us. And I would like to introduce Jennifer Jones, Leonard Peltier's lawyer, a member of the National Lawyers Guild, and she's going to have some words from herself and from Leonard. So please, let's remember to free all our political prisoners.
Uhuru. Thank you, Paulette. I have a lot of words of message and of solidarity from our committee. To echo Paulette, I am one of Leonard Peltier's lead attorneys on his case. So this morning we say Uhuru to you all, to Chairman Yeshitela, to Deputy Chairwomen Odom and Hess. Thank you for inviting us today, and greetings from the official Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee, the Mass Incarceration Committee of the National Lawyers Guild, and of course, Elder Leonard Peltier. Elder Leonard sends his love, his solidarity, and his unity, particularly at this moment, and joins this call for liberation, and thanks you for including him in the demands and supporting his release. Elder Lenny Foster also sends his love and solidarity. He is the longtime spiritual advisor to both Leonard and the community, and he sends his appreciation to all of you, the Black Panther Party, the American Indian Movement, and all Indigenous and political prisoners. Elder Foster calls upon the Black and Indigenous communities to stand together for the fight for liberation. It is past time for us to join together, says Elder Lenny Foster. Go ahead. I will tell you, in these times I hear about the emergence of a new world order, but that it is just another pivot in our great and mighty walk together. The creation of political prisoners in the United States for both the Black and Indigenous communities is a way of weaponizing our freedom fighters against us. I will tell you that every last shred of evidence used to convict Leonard has been proven entirely false. And yet he remains in the unsanitary maximum security of USP Coleman 1, because the oppressors think by doing that they can capture a movement, that they can capture an idea, that they can capture freedom. But there are no bars, there are no concrete walls that will accomplish that futile goal. So today, we stand here with you, calling upon the release of all political prisoners, including Leonard Peltier. So, and those of us who have the privilege of telling others that who have to work for our liberation, to wait, to bide our time, to make sure that we're respectable, to apologize, to use the right words. No, just what has that ever done? What has a closed mouth ever done for any of us? No, our silence will not protect us, and so we must speak. So today, we are here as a committee in so many different iterations. We don't come here to beg, to beseech, to ask, to request. We demand. Yes, with the mightiness of our strength and conviction, with our determination, we will disrupt and expose the colonial system. We are unconquered still. At the Battle of Ottawa, we are unconquered. At the Battle of Greasy Grass, Crazy Horse, we are unconquered. In the battle of the Haitian Revolution, which was won, we are unconquered. We are unconquered, so we turn our backs. We turn our backs because this nation lacks the moral aptitude, nor is willing to course correct on its own. We turn our backs at the selectiveness as so-called rules, as Leonard Case and the Uhuru and the Stop Cop City movement show us. We turn our back on the fake outrage, never failing to unveil its hypocrisy. We turn our backs on a system that was never, ever, ever intended for us. And though we turn our backs on that sort of tyranny, we do so jointly, Indigenous and Black, united toward what is good. And we go to that house just a short distance from here, built on stolen land, built on stolen labor, in the spirit of Crazy Horse and the spirit of El Haj, Malik, Shabazz, Malcolm X, and Reverend King. We are not aimless, we resist, and our call remains the same since 1492, since 1619. Liberation onward, free them all, free Leonard Peltier, free the land. Thank you so very much.
Great job, Comrades. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go up on the stage. Thank you so much. Uhuru, free them all! Free them all! I want to appreciate Comrades Jennifer Jones, the attorney for Leonard Peltier, as well as member of the Jericho movement and of the Leonard Peltier ad hoc committee, Paulette Dotier. We want to really appreciate that message. We want to make sure that we continue to be loud today so that our comrades behind enemy lines hear us. So again, thank you so much. Uhuru. So now I just want to again remind any speakers, if the Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition is here, please make sure that you check in at the side. We know some comrades are coming a little bit behind, but now I want to welcome up Harry Simon, who is the Propaganda Difusión del Unión del Barrio. Unión del Barrio is, just wanted, before I introduce this comrade, really salute the long history of the African People's Socialist Party and Unión del Barrio, who are fighting for the right to this land from Alaska to Chile, and bringing the counteroffensive and bringing all of their work, not just on this side of this colonial border, but south of the border, because as they say, in Nuestra America. So I want to really salute Comrade Harry and his compas
Compañeras y compañeros, thank you for the invitation to come out here and be present and share a few words. I will be brief because the idea and the effort that we're here to promote is principled and recognition and uphold the principled solidarity with the Uhuru movement in general, and in particular with Chairman Omali Yeshitela. I have to say that when we heard in Unión del Barrio that the Uhuru movement had been attacked by state repression, we felt that it was an attack against us. It was immediately our Secretario General moved our organization to a defensive footing, because we understood that if the Uhuru movement was under attack, our movement was under attack. We fully expected that similar type of raid was potential and quite likely to occur on an expanded basis against us as well. And I'm going to explain why we felt this way. It's not something that we take lightly. For nearly 40 years, Unión del Barrio and the African People's Socialist Party have maintained principled revolutionary unity and solidarity with each other. For nearly 40 years, we've maintained this principled unity between our two organizations. And today I'm here to tell you, on behalf of the Central Committee of Unión del Barrio and on behalf of our general membership, we recognize and acknowledge that the attack against the Uhuru movement is an attack against our movement. We feel that it's an attack against our ideological strength that's embodied in Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And so when we come here and we say, hands off Uhuru, we understand it as also a call to say, touch one, touch all. Touch one, touch all. Touch one, touch all. And when we're organizing in the barrios of South Central Los Angeles, in Barrio Logan in Southern California, when we do our community patrols, when we challenge the power and the repression of the border patrol in our communities, we say, touch one, touch all. Touch one, touch all. We take the spirit and of struggle, the example of struggle of Chairman Omali Yeshitela to the barrios of Southern California, to the capitals of Nuestra America in Mexico City, in Havana, in La Paz, in Caracas, and we say, touch one, touch all. Touch one, touch all. Because a step against the Uhuru movement is a step against Unión del Barrio, and we're here to stand with you. In Los Angeles, the bulk of our comrades are at the rally in Los Angeles in support for the hands-off Uhuru and to drop the charges against the Uhuru 3. We call on you, those of you present here today, and those of you viewing online, to take a step forward and take a step forward to defend Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the Uhuru 3, because they've been for you. They've struggled for you. They've dedicated their lives for you. It's time for us to step forward and defend them as well. Uhuru, thank you very much, compañeras y compañeros.
Hasta la victoria siempre. We say siempre. Hasta la victoria siempre. Uhuru. All right, comrades. So it is my honor now to invite up Sister Nancy Mansour, who is with Existence to Resistance, a brave Palestinian sister who will give us her statement on today. So thank you, Nancy. Uhuru.
Thank you, sis. Uhuru. Peace, assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. I appreciate the space that we're given to speak here and stand in solidarity with our black sisters and brothers, as we have for the 15 years we've been in this organization that I co-founded with my brother Ayman and Sayed out of New York. I'm also the executive director of Eyewitness Palestine, and what we do is we take people to Palestine. You could read 1 million books, you could watch 1 million movies and documentaries, but that's someone else's experience. And so we take people so they can see the fuckery that's going on, so you don't have to believe other people's words, you don't have to believe the lies that are coming out of there. I have a lot I want to say. I could talk about my personal experience. Every Palestinian has a story, but I made a few bullet points so I don't go off. I want to just say on October 7th, our Palestinian brothers and sisters broke out of a prison called Gaza that they have put them in for 20 years under siege. Gaza has been bombed almost every month. You only hear about every few years when they kill thousands of people. So we've been doing this for years. We have been marching for years. My parents, my family, my father was born in 1939 when it was Palestine. This didn't start 3 or 4 weeks years ago. When the Jewish militias came in and people say to me, how was Israel created? You're watching how they created that satanic state right now. They're doing exactly what they did to our people in the 30s and 40s right now in 2023. Our babies are being slaughtered and they're out here talking about they're defending themselves. What part of murdering 10,000 people is fucking self-defense? I also want to uplift my brothers and sisters in the West Bank. Palestine is not just Gaza, and Gaza is not part of Palestine. The whole country from the river to the sea is Palestine, and they are murdering them all over the country. They've got people bamboozled with what's going on in Gaza, but they've murdered hundreds of Palestinians in the West Bank. And you know, I was kind of contemplating, should I talk about it, should I not talk about it? Because, you know, I felt guilt that a couple of days ago, I was kind of floored and like stuck for a couple days because somebody like my brother was murdered in the West Bank. But every single Palestinian that is murdered is somebody's child, is somebody's brother, is somebody's father, is somebody's uncle, is a human being that deserves to be uplifted. So I do want to remember my brother Resmi Fayez Arafat from Balata refugee camp, who was shot with an explosive bullet 4 days ago in his hip. An explosive bullet which is illegal under international law, but why does Israel give a shit about international law? They've broken like 60 and nobody holds them accountable. An explosive bullet goes into your body and explodes inside your body so they can make sure that you don't live. In 48, Palestinians are being arrested. When they talk about hostages, yes, release the hostages. When you release our 11,000 plus Palestinian political prisoners that you are holding in your dungeons, over 200 children, over 200 Palestinian children, and Israel count Palestinian children from 18, 16 and younger as children. They try them over 16 as adults. If you're Jewish, over 18 as an adult. 4,450 Palestinian political prisoners were being held prior to October 7th. That was 3.5 weeks ago. Now they have over 11,000. That's how many they've arrested just in the past few weeks. Administrative detention. Does anyone know what administrative detention is? They can hold you for 6 months with no charges. Palestinians, thousands of them are being held with not a single charge. Not one single charge. And after 6 months, they can renew it for another 6 months and another 6 months. And Palestinians have been under administrative detention held by Israel for over 20 years, some of them. Not to mention, Israel hasn't even tried to get the hostages. They just bombed the shit out of Gaza, so...
Stop.
I also want to say about language, this is not a war. If they gave us the weaponry and the money that we give Israel from our tax money every year, their motherfuckers would have been left and gone home on their dual citizenship, like the 300,000 that already left and went home. I also want to say, I know the Zionists have been trying to shift the narrative. You know, they try and like, oh, well, what about Sudan? What about... We stand with our brothers and sisters in Sudan, DR Congo, and we have them. When they call on us, I will be there. I can speak for me. I will be there. And we can talk about how Israel is raping DR Congo for its resources. Billions of dollars every year. Like I said, we've been doing this work for years. I really appreciate the space. Palestinians have decided now it's freedom or death. That's not just a slogan. Freedom or death. And people need to choose a side. Either you're with the oppressor or you're with the oppressed, or you shut the fuck up and sit down. Thank you. Peace. Uhuru.
Victory!
also a member organization of the Black Alliance for Peace, which maybe I'm assuming that also makes us a part of the Black is Back Coalition. We thank the Black is Back Coalition for organizing for the 15th year the Black People's March on the White House and doing so in multiple locations worldwide. Like Black is Back, PACA is a part of a historic and global movement for Pan-Africanism, or the liberation and unification of Africa and African people on the continent and in the diaspora under the economic system of scientific socialism. We're organizing African people for community-based power because we know that the base of all politics is local and then branches outward. We say Africans stolen from our homeland and forced to sell our labor to survive are colonized people. And that the only rational and legitimate response to being colonized is to fight for decolonization, to fight for self-determination, and to an end to capitalism. For PACA, that fight means community-led power through mass political education and participatory programs of action that avow and advance our human right, one, our human right to informed consent and self-determination, two, collective community control over the elements of land, political systems, economic systems, systems of justice such as police and judicial, and social systems such as education and culture and ecological systems. The primary enemy of this struggle is the U.S. settler colonialist oligarchy. There can be no equivocating on the fact that the U.S. political system is one run by the rich for the rich, a dictatorship of the capitalist class. In its desperate effort to survive its outmoded existence, it has become a system our brother and comrade Daruba Ben Wahad refers to as democratic fascism, an imperialist system that gives us the options of voting for which wings of the oppressive bird will preside over its structures, but still a carceral state that maintains the coercive policies of keeping us in check through militarized domestic police, surveillance with the most advanced technology, restrictions on information, and the prosecution of dissent. As we know is happening to our comrades in the Uhuru 3. They have to prosecute dissent because one truth can smash 1,000 of their lies. Despite that, our internationalist purview, and I just don't mean PACA, but everyone's internationalist purview here tells us that we are winning. Imperialism is losing. This is why their media is doing everything to hide the global stance for a free Palestine, doubling down on the imperialist propaganda and taking measures to repress us as anti-Zionists. We still have to do better. While many on the left, I won't call them radical, rightfully find it easy to identify and call out settler colonialism in the Zionist state of Israel, U.S. settler colonialism is normalized. We have to be careful that we're not being settlers ourselves by identifying as Americans. By saying we, when referring to U.S. policies, we become unwitting or unwitting accomplices to the land theft and erasure of the indigenous people of this land, and we become liberals, not revolutionaries. Politically, the pronouns we should be used when we refer to Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Palestinians, Palestine, Haiti, and especially black people when we're referring to people anywhere in the continent of Africa, especially like in the Sahel, where they've built a challenge to neocolonialism. The same forces of neocolonialism cast Libya, our country, a country on our homeland, from being the most stable nation in Africa into their condition of forever wars. The legitimacy of our politics is strong, but our left unity still needs some work, particularly the left unity within the U.S. is still too weak to wage a formidable challenge to these enemies. But we know this will change. It's on the rise. We're on the right side of history. There can be no denying that. We must get our domestic struggle inside the U.S. to see that we're but another front in the international struggle against imperialism. Touch one, touch all. Touch one, no compromise, no retreat.
Uhuru. Thank you, Brother Nekfa, with the Pan-African Community Action. Okay, we're going to ask everybody to kind of move closer towards the stage. So, yeah, move closer towards the center. So if you're here on the ground, go ahead and fill in this area right here. Thank you so much. All right, comrades. And I just want to, before we continue, I want to really appreciate the media who is covering this, because historically, if you look at the Black liberation movement and the liberation movements of all colonized people, the media was oftentimes there to play a role, right, to help put it out. But oftentimes the media sacrificed the long-term goals of the people, right, and didn't report and say what was actually happening. So I want to salute WPFW and WBAI and KPFK in Los Angeles, who are tracking and who are recording today's, Black People's March. That's a big deal. So I want to just go ahead and give them, let's go ahead and put our hands together for WPFW and WBAI. Uhuru. And because we are live, I'm going to, try to watch what I say and keep it clean, because, it's hard.
Greetings, sisters, brothers, and siblings. I bring you greetings on behalf of Workers' World Party and the United National Anti-War Coalition, UNAC, of which our party is a member of. Both groups are in solidarity with the African People's Socialist Party, whose leadership came under a terrorist attack last year by the FBI for attending a conference in Russia in protest of the U.S.-NATO proxy war in Ukraine. In the view of WWP and UNAC, this wasn't just an attack against one organization, but was a clear attempt to send a chilling message to the entire anti-war and anti-imperialist movement in the U.S. if they dare to challenge an unjustified war carried out by imperialism. This attack on ASP is very reminiscent of the height of COINTELPRO in the 1960s and 1970s, when Black, brown, and indigenous organizations were viciously targeted by racist, repressive arms of the state, like the FBI, local and state police, for the so-called crime of advocating for national liberation and self-determination, along with the demand for civil rights and any social change. And what the attack on APSP shows is that COINTELPRO never went away, because racism and white supremacy never went away. As revolutionaries, we understand that imperialism, global capitalism, exists at home and abroad. It is a global system that super exploits workers, the poor, and people of color at all costs to protect the profits and private property of the greedy ruling class. Black people have experienced genocide. Brown people have experienced genocide. Indigenous peoples have experienced genocide. And at the present moment, Palestinian people are experiencing genocide in Gaza and the West Bank and elsewhere in the occupied territories by the same imperialist forces who do the bidding of Wall Street with bombs and bourgeois media. But like all liberation struggles, heroes. We must defend the heroic resistance from Palestine to right here in the United States, because an injury to one is an injury to all. So both WWP and UNAC will continue to defend and support the African People's Socialist Party and calls on all anti-imperialist and anti-war progressive forces, and for anyone who refuses to remain silent when injustice raises its ugly head, to do whatever is necessary to stop the persecution of the APSP leaders and all of our leaders, from Amia Abu-Jamal to all political prisoners. And we demand to free them all. Free them all. So drop all charges against APSP and the Uhuru movement, end the blockade against Cuba, no more sanctions, no to the U.S. proxy war in Ukraine. Abolish NATO, reparations and self-determination for Black, Brown, Arab, and Indigenous peoples now. Stop the U.S.-backed Zionist genocide against Palestine. On to revolution. Thank you.
Let's get together and feel alright. Hear the children crying. Hear the children crying.
Uhuru, touch one! Touch one! Uhuru! Up next, we're gonna have Jackie Luckman with Black Alliance for Peace. Give it up for Jackie!
Peace, friends, peace. And I do mean that. That's not just a phrase. That's not just a word. That's not just a thing we say. It's not just a greeting. When we in the Black Alliance for Peace say peace, we mean that with our whole chest. Because we understand that peace can only be achieved if you are willing to fight for it. Because we understand that we are a colonized people living in this United Snakes that was established on the very same settler colonialism that is going on in Palestine right now. And because we are colonized, we are still fighting for our freedom and our liberation on this stolen land. So when we say peace, we mean we wish you peace, but only if you're willing to fight for it. Because if you're not willing to fight for it, you don't deserve it. You are an enemy of the people if you are not willing to fight for liberation and peace of the people. And that is why Black Alliance for Peace is not only a member of the steering committee of the Black is Back coalition, but we have been involved in this struggle to free and to drop the charges against the Uhuru 3, to demand that the FBI and the U.S. government take its hands off of the APSP and Chairman Yeshitali, because we understand the forces that are at work in these ridiculous charges against the Uhuru 3. Think about it, friends. Think about this. The federal government of this country that colludes actively with the government of the illegitimate country of Israel, that other settler colonial state, the ideological baby of the United States, actively colludes with that government to pass legislation at the behest of the Israeli government in this country to criminalize people who protest against Zionism, to criminalize people involved in the boycott, divest, and sanction movement, BDS. How do I know this is true? Because just the other day, an official in the Israeli government tweeted that they have backed and advanced legislation in the states to criminalize people who get involved with BDS. They openly admitted this just 2 or 3 days ago on Twitter. But here, the members of the Uhuru 3 are under indictment for allegedly being influenced by Russia. Like Africans don't know we need to fight for our liberation and freedom in this country if Russia don't tell us. So my question is, who do we demand be indicted for passing legislation on behalf of the Israeli government to criminalize people in this country who want to boycott Israel, the Zionist settler colonial state, while we work to free our brothers and sisters in the Uhuru 3 from this bogus indictment against them of Russian influence? Who do we demand? Who do we take to court? Who do we drag in front of a judge and say, these people have been influenced by, you said it, AIPAC? They need to be indicted for being influenced by a foreign government. But you and I know we don't have that kind of power, because that's not how this thing works. That ain't how this thing works. This is why we have to fight for our liberation. We cannot fight in the halls of quote-unquote justice that they set up, because that justice isn't established for us. So that's why we take our fight to the streets. And that's why we
thinking about what is it the United States represents and what is it that people need to do to change that situation. So we were familiar with that. We were arrested, we were charged. The U.S. attorney in charge of that prosecution was Rudolph Giuliani. We beat his ass. They charged us with 60-something counts. We were looking at 200 years in jail. We were charged with thought crimes. We were charged with conspiracies, to commit conspiracies to free political prisoners from jail, to commit armored car robberies, to support the campaign to free political prisoners. They lost on all those counts. The only thing they could convict us of was that we possessed weapons. And they were in our houses, and our position was that given what had happened in the 60s, anyone who declared themselves a revolutionary and did not have something to defend themselves were fools, or they just were talking smack. So we didn't deny that. We said, yeah, we had them because we knew about COINTELPRO, and we knew that our arrest and trial was COINTELPRO. They had followed us for 2 years. They spent over $3 million in U.S. money in 1980s dollars to follow us and have our prosecution. So that brings us to today. What's happening in this country? In the economic crisis that capitalism is facing, they're having to move to the right, to make, as I said, to institute fascism, illegal terrorism, to make this illegal, to stop the motion of people. And for our community, particularly, we have to understand that if we don't understand what's going on in Palestine, because we think it doesn't affect us, we have to know that that's the foreign policy reflection of what's going on. We're going to be the scapegoats of the domestic policy. This gathering has got to be a step towards organizing other people, to raising consciousness, to defining the narrative of what's going on, and to bring our people, to get them active. We have got to be in the streets. We've got to deal with Cop City. We've got to deal with all the attacks. So it's very important that this continues. It's very important that we understand those connections, and it's very important that we take a stand. We free Palestine, free the Uhuru 3. No steps backwards, not a step backwards towards fascism. Thank you.
Uhuru. Next, I want to welcome up Katia Stitt, the program director for WPFW.
Uhuru! Peace if you're willing to fight for it, right? That's what we say at WPFW, and that's what we say throughout Pacifica. I want to, first of all, welcome you. We are broadcasting live on WPFW and WBAI in New York and KPFA in Berkeley, California. We're waiting for we're waiting for KPFK to join us, and hopefully they will soon in KPFT. I want to just start, and I'm going to read my notes if you don't mind, just because I get nervous and I want to say the correct things. We are the children, these are the words of Patrice Lumumba. We are the children of Nelson Mandela, of Kwame Nkrumah, of Haile Selassie, of Samora Machel, of Robert Mugabe, of Patrice Lumumba, of Julius Nyerere. We know who we are. We are all oppressed peoples, and Pacifica Radio has always been a part of the resistance to that oppression. For those of you who don't know, the Pacifica Foundation was created by Lou Hill and other World War II-era conscientious objectors in August 1946. We are still committed to being used as a liberatory medium for journalism and culture. Embedded in the mission is giving voice to the voiceless, making sure that the marginalized are heard and felt. Please, I ask you, comrades that are here and listening on air, to use us to amplify your movements, to use us to further liberation and revolution. That is what Pacifica is founded on. But we can't do that work without you using us. And that is the role that all of Pacifica plays, but I have to shout out the work that WPFW has done. We are the youngest, and I dare say the blackest, in the network since 1977. And we are proud of both of those, because when we were founded, black people in DC did not have a voice, and as we know, they still don't. They're just being pushed out of the city. So we still remain a voice for those people, for our people. Finally, I'd like to close. I've been thinking a lot about what is happening in Gaza, and my heart breaks. I have a daughter, a 22-year-old daughter, and I can't imagine how I would feel as a mother, as a black woman, if my daughter was bombed to smithereens, which is what's happening right now, even as we speak. So I want to leave you with an excerpt from our beloved sister June Jordan, from her poem Moving Towards Home, because it resonates with me and I hope it'll resonate with you. She says, "Where is Abu Fadi?" she wailed. "Who will bring my loved one? I do not wish to speak about the bulldozer in the red dirt, not quite covering all of the arms and legs, nor do I wish to speak about the night-long screams that reached the observation post where soldiers lounged about, nor do I wish to speak about the woman who shoved her baby into the stranger's hands before she was led away, nor do I wish to speak about the father whose sons were shot through the head while they slit his own throat before the eyes of his wife. I need to talk about living room, where I can sit without grief, without wailing aloud for my loved ones, where I must not ask where is Abu Fadi because he will be there beside me. I need to talk about living room because I need to talk about home. I was born a black woman, and now I am becoming a Palestinian. Against the relentless laughter of evil, there is less and less living room. And where are my loved ones? It is time to make our way home. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Come on, sis, you can come on. You got it? Yeah, I got it. All right. This is Sister Kenneth Henry with Cobra. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Peace and blessings. My name is Kenneth Henry. I am the National Co-Chair for Cobra, National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, we've been in this struggle, in this movement, 246 years of forced stolen labor, 100 years of Jim Crow with KKK terrorism. This is the only place where terrorism, when it's against us, it's not terrorism. Lynchings and so on and so on. We also have to deal with the fact that we need to be aware that Haiti gave reparations to France for 125 years. There were only 9,000 enslavers, but the reparations kept coming. You should ask yourself, where did those payments go? I'll just go ahead and tell you, they went to the descendants for 125 years. We're dealing with the atrocities in Venezuela, a country that was very generous with their petrol to countries that needed petrol to keep warm. We're dealing with the 50-plus years of atrocities and victimization of our brothers and sisters in the Palestine. We're dealing with 70 years of neo-colonialism on the continent, while France and all of the other colonizers continue to tell us that it's a wholesome partnership we're in, not neo-colonialism. So I have a couple of minutes, and I just want to say to you that in essence, what we have to do is we have to stop allowing other people to put us on the menu. We have to begin to be the ones to craft those menus. We have to send a message to Jim Crow Joe that we are no longer going to be roadblocked into going into voting booths and voting the lesser of the evils when evil equals evil and therefore begets evil. We have to send a message that from now on, we're not just a diaspora. We are the diaspora holding hands with blacks around the world. We are in unity, not just with those of us who look like us and are on this continent. We are in unity with our brothers and sisters in Africa. Look at what's going on in Africa. They're waking up and they realize that the only way they can move forward is they have to move forward in unity. So we need to extend our hand to our brothers and sisters on the continent and become one. And when we are one, we are going to be so powerful, they will beg us to put them on the menu. Thank you very much.
Uhuru. Next up. Okay.
Uhuru. Next up, we will have our brother Garland Nixon. He does a powerful show on WPFW. Brother Garland Nixon. Uhuru.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's getting pretty obvious right now that this is a system that is in crisis. That they're coming after our brothers and sisters in the Uhuru movement, not because they're strong, but because their system is on fire. Because the neoliberal, capitalist, brutal, genocidal, savage system that they have built is on fire. And not that we're not trying, not because we're trying to overthrow it, we don't need to do that. Not that we're trying to take it down, we don't need to do that. Because as Brother Malcolm said, we're sitting on the side with our hands in our pockets smiling, praying for wind. Because we know it's on fire. And that we are coming together, and as this system crumbles, we will be here to do the things we need to do to raise the system up, where the people at the bottom finally have an opportunity. As Kwame Ture said, everything will be all right if you just return the power to the hands of the people. And that's what we're here to do. We're going to stand with Chairman O'Malley. We're going to stand with the Uhuru movement. You know, the other day, I'm listening to some broadcast, and they said that Joe Biden said, if Genocide Joe said that if there is a pause or a ceasefire, it will only benefit Hamas. And that's when it hit me. That's when I thought to myself, what they're doing to the Palestinians is just what they did to us. It's what they did to the Native American. You see, the reason he said that, because he didn't even take into account the existence of the Palestinian people. Just like us. It'll only benefit Hamas. That means the Palestinian people that are being killed and murdered, he doesn't even take them into assistance. Why? For the same reason that they called us 4/5 of a man. If you killed a slave, you didn't kill a person. They weren't taken. Their existence wasn't accepted as humans. But we're here. The system's on fire. We're going to turn on a fan. We're going to smile. We're going to pray for rain. But as Paul Robeson said, we don't have to go overseas to fight fascism. We're going to fight it right here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Garland. So next I want to bring up the Odessa Solidarity Campaign and the Virginia Defenders, Phil Waledo. Uhuru.
Uhuru. I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity to express solidarity with the Uhuru 3, with the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and Jesse Neville and Penny. I knew I was going to do that. and Penny. When we heard that, we've been aware of the APSP for a long time, and the good work that they're doing going back 40 years that we know of. And when we heard about the FBI raid last January, we called the office in St. Louis for two reasons. One, to offer our support, and two, to let the FBI listening to their telephone calls that people from outside the area were concerned and were offering their support. And then we put out a newspaper, the Virginia Defender. We've been covering the struggle in that. Made a donation to the legal fund and joined the Solidarity Coalition and take part in the national calls as we can. I'm only saying that to say we just didn't show up today. But we want to express our solidarity with the Uhuru 3 and denounce the charges, demand that they be dropped. They're totally bogus. It's a frame-up. It's only because the APSP has spoken out against the U.S. position on Ukraine and other issues. And we don't understand how the United States government can think it has the right to tell us who we can talk to, who we can associate with, who we can work with. They tell us we have to love Israel, but we have to hate Cuba. They tell us we have to love Saudi Arabia, but we have to hate Venezuela. We have to love NATO, but we have to hate Russia and China and North Korea and Bolivia and increasingly South Africa. Where the hell did they get off telling us who our friends are and who our enemies are? We learned a long time ago, when they tell us someone is good, they're usually bad. And when they say they're bad, they're usually good. So the Odessa Solidarity Campaign was formed to support the anti-fascist people in Ukraine. We traveled to Odessa in 2016 as international observers for the second memorial of the Odessa massacre, when 43 anti-fascists were murdered by a fascist mob, and there's never been a proper investigation, and the fascists were planning to come back, were announcing they were going to come back and attack the memorial, and they wanted international observers. We've been supporting that struggle ever since, so we totally agree with Chairman Yeshitela that the attack on the APSP was a shot across the bow of the anti-imperialist movement. And if we let them go down, it'll be dominoes for the rest of us. So we're here not only in sympathy, we're here in solidarity, we're here in our own self-interest. If we let any one of us be taken by the enemy, all of us are in danger. Drop the charges against the Uhuru 3, free the land, and thank you for Chairman for your great leadership over the years. I'm sorry, got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm a little tired. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Phil. Uhuru. Thanks again, Phil. Now I want to welcome up Alex Suarez of Revolutionary Alliance. Uhuru. Here he comes. And we are getting ready to start marching, so we want to remind everybody to get your flags and go ahead and get in place. So just want to put that out there. Uhuru, Alex. There you go.
My name is Alex Suarez, and I'm here today to express my utmost support and solidarity with the Uhuru movement, its leadership, its courage, and its example to us all. As a Latino and a son of an immigrant who proudly bears indigenous blood, I believe the solidarity and unity among our people, black and brown, as well as the other so-called minorities, red, yellow, etc., is essential to this fight as a vanguard working on behalf of the plight of the oppressed, the working class, class and the poor of this imperial nation. I say so-called, since I laid out in my speech in St. Augustine, Florida, a state where people of mixed Seminole and black background defeated the U.S. Army in 3 wars, largely covered up. The day after being tear-gassed in Jacksonville for peacefully protesting for black lives 3.5 years ago, as we saw in much of the country, I stressed we colonized people are in actuality a majority of the world population. Indeed, when Trump has used the slogan, "Make America Great Again," to us this has meant "Make America White Again." Many of the Republicans themselves have used this latter slogan, and the betrayal from the Democrats on our people we have felt deeply as well. The fear of, in a couple generations, the colonized people being a majority, along with ideological unity, while the white population then being a minority, scares the bourgeois whites who ultimately control Washington. Where better to express this than the imperial capital of the U.S.? We see an abundance of architecture in the Greco-Romano styles of the ancient empires here. We are in the belly of the beast, where we have vast economic inequality, where just a few steps from the Senate is mass homelessness and houselessness and poverty we see at the level of the so-called third world. Where even in much of that so-called third world, there are better programs to uplift those people. I am here today, comrades, brothers and sisters, to share a vision, not a quixotic dream, but a vision based on realism, accompanied by optimism. The forces of reaction, the imperial colonial forces, are losing their grip in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia. Here too, in the U.S., their deception of the masses is failing. Which is why they desperately go after the Uhuru 3 with such a weak case and conduct mass censorship here in imperial North America, which includes Canada, also a colonial state. In my 22 years of activism, never have I been part of a movement as important as this, with the potential to grow, and as the imperial government attacks us, we respond and become stronger. The youth, the future generations, our hope, our staff, as we continue our revolutionary journey, continue to enter the ranks. Chairman Omali Yeshitela represents among the last of his generation, not wiped out or imprisoned, simply for demanding the rights of his people and working with groups in order to achieve these goals this past half century. People talk in their history classes of the Panthers, of Malcolm, of King, but what the media ignores is that the struggle is continuing and that the feds are keeping up their attacks just as the 1960s and 70s and other parts of our history. I have a vision that one day there won't be multiple presidential candidates for revolutionary or semi-revolutionary parties. We must learn how in Latin America the true left rose up and changed the game and united in coalition, all these parties behind one candidate that got their act together, put egos to the side, and got rid of the infiltrators, and did movement building till they formed a successful campaign. I witnessed this myself 2 years ago in Venezuela when I saw their electoral process firsthand. We must learn from the example of the African rebellions, the Latin American, from much of the so-called third world. We must ask, who are the savages and who are the civilized? What people have acted in a civilized way? Where was the first civilization? We could even get into the very science of where humanity first started. My vision goes beyond unity towards solidarity, the prosecution, who prosecutes under the guise of the law, conducting lawfare, like what was done with Venezuelan diplomat like Saab and others who defied the U.S. empire, has claimed that this movement is divisive. Well, I say Uhuru unites us, along with allies against the injustice. It is a movement of love, not hate. It speaks truth to power, not lies. Love being the guiding principle of this revolutionary process in order to open the hearts and minds of future generations. Uhuru, long live the refuge, long live Revolutionary Alliance, and long live Palestine!
Uhuru! And next we will have Jesse Neville. He is one of the Uhuru 3 and also a member of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. Uhuru!
Uhuru! Hands off Uhuru! Hands off Uhuru! Free, free Palestine! Victory to Palestine! Uhuru! Uhuru, it is a great honor to be here today with the
Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. We are here from the African People's Solidarity Committee and the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, the organization of white people working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela, with the job to go back into our own white communities and win other white people, other colonizers, settlers like ourselves, to stand in solidarity with African people inside this country and around the world, with the Palestinian people, with the indigenous people, with all colonized and oppressed peoples around the world, fighting for national liberation and the destruction of colonialism. We salute our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, and the African People's Socialist Party. We salute Chairwoman Penny Hess, the chair of the African People's Solidarity Committee, who is also one of the Uhuru Three, who has been working under the party's leadership to build white solidarity with Black power for over 47 years. Uhuru. And we salute the courageous resistance of the people of Palestine. Our job as the Uhuru Solidarity Movement is to expose other white people to the understandings that, as Chairman Omali Yeshitela teaches us, there would be no United States of America without the enslavement of African people, kidnapping African people, turning African human beings into commodities, without the genocide against the indigenous people and the theft of their land. It was this process which brought wealth, power, democracy, prosperity to us as white people on the pedestal of the oppression and colonial domination of African, indigenous, and colonized peoples. So yes, we believe the United States government, the governments of Europe, the banks, the corporations owe reparations to African people. And we also believe that all white people owe reparations to African people. All white people sit on the pedestal of the oppression of African people and have benefited historically and continue today in the stolen labor, life, land, and resources of Africa. And we have not been innocent bystanders in this process. It has been white working people who have been at the front lines of carrying out the lynchings and the terror against African people and indigenous people historically to secure our place on the pedestal. And as Comrade Lisa Davis has pointed out, for over 100 years in this country, no white person was ever indicted for lynching an African, for hanging an African human being from a tree, for burning an African man alive, mutilating them in festivals of sadism and violence. And yet, for the first time, white people are one to work under the leadership of the African Revolution and fight for reparations to African people. They get indicted. But we are clear, the primary target of this attack is Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And they are not attempting to imprison the chairman because they truly believe he is an agent of Russia. They know he is an agent of Black power, of Africa and African people. They are attacking him for the same reason they attacked Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X and Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party, because he and the African Revolution represent the vanguard of all oppressed peoples around the world. And I want to close by saying that white people who are truly anti-imperialism, who are truly for socialism and liberation, we cannot walk over the bodies of African people, of the indigenous people, of colonized people in this country where we, like the Israeli Jews, are colonial settlers on stolen, occupied land. We cannot walk over the bodies of African people or past their righteous resistance movements to pretend that we have sympathy for the Palestinian people. That is not the answer.
If we are truly for Palestine, we recognize Palestine is right here. This is the original settler colonial empire, and any white person who truly stands for victory to the Palestinian people starts by standing in solidarity with the Black Revolution, with the African Revolution, under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. So we are honored to be here with the reparations contingent. If you are a white person, march with the reparations contingent today. Let's go behind the leadership of Black Power and demand the U.S. government drop the charges against the Uhuru 3. Hands off Chairman Omali Yeshitela. Victory to Palestine. Unity through.